here. Today's topic, why every family needs a personal history. But first things first, if watching on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, you hit the notification bell because it tells you when I go live, and share it into your social media stream because there's somebody that needs to hear this. Your friend needs to hear this. You're like, oh my gosh, Cindy talks about this today, and so needs to know this. And every week I draw a winner for a fun prize, and I let my daughter pick out the prize, so you know it's uber fun. All right, why every family needs a personal history. And when you think of personal history, some people think about a genealogy, a chart with people's names on it, things like that. I'm talking about like a personal history like you would give the doctor's office. Like you go to the doctor's office and they're like, I need to know your family history of all these things. Well, I'm here, Cindy, and I need you to know your family history of all these stories, all these things. My daughter's favorite thing is, Mom, will you tell me the story again about blah, 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 blah? And I was like, sure, I just told that one to you yesterday. But telling your family stories and knowing about different family members is an excellent way for them to know the stories. And it's also an excellent way for you to find out patterns in your life. Like people say, oh my gosh, I'm just this way. This is the way I am. I was born like this. And I was like, you might be born like this. But if you look back at your family history of things, you might see that every generation does this. And it may be something that you want to continue on down the generations, or it may be something that says, up, came to me, it's going to stop here. We're not going to do this nonsense anymore. Because you'll find, if you know the family history, that it went back generations and generations. And the family history starts with you. So it starts with me. I need to write down my family history. I need to tell all the stories that I can possibly tell. Because the thing that I wanted the most after my mom and my dad passed away is I was like, they left me with big holes of family stories. They left me with, I didn't get all their stories out. I didn't even get nearly any of the stories out because 2 generations ago, people didn't tell you nothing. My family, my mom and dad's generation, they started beginning to tell you the stories. Some of the good, the bad, and the ugly. When I get around my cousins, I was like, we just tell story after story after story after story of our own stories or experiences that happened to us, and it's the most fun time. If you ever watched more than one video of mine, you know I love stories. I love, 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 love stories. And people love stories. That's the way that verbal stories and verbal history used to be passed down. You sat around like a campfire and you told stories. And they're so much fun because they're always going to be goofy, funny, strange, bad. They're all like the best book you ever read. But guess what? It's a story of your family. So I have a whole group, moms in the middle. It's moms where the buck stops with them. We start our family history. We share our family history. We change our family history if needed. And it's a great community to be. It's the exact community that I would have liked several years ago, but now it's here for you guys. So I'm going to close with a funny story because there's always funny stories. I halfway through college, I decided that I was going to join the Air Force ROTC at my university. So I've been halfway through, I'm probably more than halfway through. I was like, yep, I'm going to give this a shot. My dad volunteered for Vietnam to join the Air Force. He volunteered because he wanted to pick what branch of government it is. So then I was like, I'll do Air Force ROTC. I don't know what I want to do after college yet. So let me go throw my hat in the ring and see how ROTC would be. So I got the opportunity to do 4 years of ROTC in 2 years. Yes, I was an overachiever back then. Since then, I've retired from overachieving. I just do my best Cindy every day could. So I did 4 years and 2 years. So in between the first year, double year, and the second double year, we went to something called field training. So if you were enlisting, it would be called basic training. But when you're becoming an officer, Some places called Officer Candidate School, but in ROT, Air Force ROTC, it was called field training. So I got the honor and privilege to spend 28 plus days in July and August in wonderful San Antonio, Texas. I'm telling you, San Antonio, Texas is a beautiful place. But imagine what July and August will be. I let you know it was over 100 in the shade, and that was probably a lie. So it was well over 100. We got to wear wonderful blue polyester shirts most days and wonderful navy blue polyester pants and some beautiful, almost patent leather shoes. So you got the visual. Are you dripping with sweat already? You know, I walked out the door and I'm completely dripping in sweat. Well, anyway, this happened to be the same place that my dad and my godfather got to go to basic training at. So it was fun that I was like the second generation to go to the exact same place that my dad and godfather got to go to. So when you go to field training, back then at least, you had 3 days to qualify to get all your physical fitness tests, all your tests done, and you had 3 days. So you had essentially 72 hours since your boots literally hit the ground to pass everything you needed to pass. And then if you did, you got to stay for the rest of the 28 days. Well, my dad, being my dad, is always a jokester, likes to find people's goats and poke and prod on you. That was his way of motivating you. He said before I got on the airplane, Cindy, I'll see you in 3 days. Well, like I told you, I was a reformed achiever back then. I was not going to give my dad the satisfaction of not passing all my tests when I got there and be back in 3 days. So, knowing my dad, he did that for a reason and a purpose. That was to motivate me to go down there in the wonderful 100-degree in the shade weather to run my miles and do my push ups, do my flex arm hang, and do the wonderful sit ups so I wouldn't come back in 3 days. So, you know how the story goes, but you don't. I got there, I passed all my things I needed to do in the 3 days, and I didn't go back. I didn't come home in the 3 days. But there was a lot of people that were there on scholarship. They had spent most of their 2 years getting their way paid for, that they were back on a plane 3 days later because it was hard, it was tough, and it was super hot. I mean, it was like surface of the sun hot just to be outside, let alone doing physical activity. But my dad knew that I would need to hear, see you in 3 days, Cindy, poking and teasing me. So I would go and do my absolute best and not give in. So those are the stories that you need to tell your kids because look at all that story. You had to know that my dad was a joker and a teaser, and that was fine. That was a good way to motivate him. You need to know you're like perseverance. You need to know that you could try something new halfway doing what you're doing. Like I was going along just fine, and then I decided to make a turn. And wait, what the heck? I'm young. Let's try something different. So look at all the things you get out of a family story. So now I get to go tell my daughter this story so she can find all those things because then you get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, what you want to keep and what you want to shed. So this was going to be a quick video. It turned into a longer video because I got a long, hot story in there. So I love you all, and I will see you all tomorrow.